Okay, so we have this concept in Aikido that, and just use my phrase, so the spiral rotating cross. Okay. Sometimes they just say rotating cross, but spiral rotating is the best way of understanding it, spiral rotation. Of course, this will have some physical properties, but it is not entirely a physical statement about reality. This is a metaphysical concept. And you should know that from the simple fact that what you're rotating is yin and yang. And yin and yang does not exist in physical reality. Yin and yang has physical manifestations, but the yin and yang itself does not exist in reality. It is a metaphysical concept. Okay? So we have to keep that in mind. And they're just representatives of yin and yangs in a simple form. You have this, okay? All right, as I've mentioned before, this pattern or some variation of this pattern, that there's one side of reality or the cosmos and another side of the cosmos, is just universal along the Silk Road culture. Okay, so for example, I've given you that you have what has become the the Star of David, which is a symbol today of Judaism, but it's a yin-yang symbol. Okay. Another one you have is your swastika symbols. These are all yin-yang symbols, okay? And these are all, Hitler took them from India, and they're yin-yang symbols, okay? Or more broadly, they're part of the triune cosmology that was developed through the Silk Road. And triune cosmology, again, is there's two things that are in a dichotomous relationship that are a manifestation of a third thing that is beyond description, beyond materiality. So on the west side of the Silk Road, you would have, for example, God, the God concept. On the east side of the Silk Road, you would have heaven, or you would have Tao, even a God concept as well, but it's beyond description. Okay? And sometimes that metaphysics is described sequentially. So the Tao existed first, and then yin and yang came from the Tao, for example. But the understanding is more like a kind of pulsating. So the Tao manifests the yin and yang. The yin and yang can be demanifested, and you return to the Tao. And this process just keeps going on and on. This is the nature of the universe. Okay. In our Kihon Waza, and what you're trying to do in Kihon Waza as a purification ritual is that process of undoing yin and yang, returning to the Tao state, and then remanifesting yin and yang. So in the study of religion, these rituals have been called the rituals of eternal return. So you kind of uncreate and create, uncreate and create, uncreate and create. And why this is a type of purification ritual is there's nothing more pure than the pre-yin-yang state, the Tao, because there's always some corruption and degeneration that immediately happens after the universe is split up into dichotomy. So the purest state is the God state, the Tao state, the heaven state. Hence, for O-sensei, these are misogi, which is purification rituals, okay? And the way that you undo this is, in essence, you destabilize them by spiral rotating them. In their purest ideal state, they want to act in this dichotomous relationship. So they're kind of two things. One's horizontal, one's vertical. And the way to destabilize the dichotomy here is you're going to spiral rotate. And as you spiral rotate, it's hard for them to remain in their pure dichotomous state, and eventually they break apart. Okay? And you return to a Tao state or a zero state, or however you want to describe it. Okay, so when we look at Aikido, Kihon, Waza, and we're going to look from above, and I only have a two-dimensional capacity here. So any of you patrons, you have any access to 3D modeling on a computer, yeah, go for it, okay? Your Aikido geometry, your Aikido Kihon Waza tactical geometry is going to be taking this shape. You and Uke take on this shape. You have this kind of spiral, okay? And on that spiral, so we're gonna just look at, will you throw that in the trash? We'll just take a section of that line, okay? On this shape here, here's that line. Aside from both Uke and Naga doing this, we're now going to take a section of that line, and we're only going to look at Uke's body on that line, okay? So here's that section on the line, and we're going to look at Uke's body on that line. We'll represent his spine with another line. And here we see that we have that cross position. So here's Uke's head, and here's Uke's feet. Okay? And here is Uke's center of gravity. And we do want to understand it that way at this level, at this point. It is the physical center of gravity. Don't get all crazy with, is it the hara, is it the tanden? It does not make sense to talk about the lower tanden as if the actual physical center of gravity is not contained therein when we're talking about throwing architectures. It is, so we're talking about the physical center of gravity, okay? Uke's posture is, as you can see, a microcosmic representation of the dichotomous manifestation of the Tao. Meaning, I have a center, but the center only exists because the two ends exist, okay? And that makes up Uke's posture. And what we're going to do along the technique is start to tilt Uke's posture. So this is that line, this is that line in a moment in time when Uke's posture is in perfect triune alignment. So the head is in a relationship with the feet and over the feet on the other side of the center of gravity. But at different points, this line starts to look like this relationship, okay? And you're just turning it over as you're going, okay? So that is why it's not just a spiral, it's on the spiral, Uke is rotating. You see? That's why I use spiral rotation. Okay? At a certain point on this now, we go back onto this spiral, and you can imagine that Uke's lever is starting to change relationship with this thing as it's going around, okay? At a certain point, because especially because of the centrifugal and centripetal forces, so you have force going out and you have force going in because we're guiding them on the spiral. At a certain point, this structure of Uke, what I mean by, is the relationship between the head and the feet being a center becomes radically destabilized, okay? And they start to go in different directions. This one goes there, this one goes there, this one goes there, for example. The makeup of this thing disassembles in this ritual, do you see? And this means Uke's head is going in one vector, Uke's center is going in an entirely different vector, and Uke's feet is going in an entirely different vector altogether, okay? And this is when finally an actual human body is being thrown as opposed to a choreographed Uke. So a choreographed Uke never loses this relationship. But anytime Uke has this relationship, Uke is in control. Uke has form. And we want to undo it. We want to return it back to its pre-formed state. Okay? And this is where you actually have a full-on deconstruction of Uke's posture. They're being physically thrown. Some of you have noted how our Uke can't take the regular Ukemi. Some of you are working, or don't take the regular Ukemi. Some of you are working with your Uke without training them in this kind of Ukemi I'm about to show you, and you realize they can't do the fall. And they know they can't do the fall, so they try to pull out of the technique. All kinds of things like that happen, okay? In short, the modern Uke is just not familiar with a dismantling of this yin-yang makeup between the head, the center, and the feet, okay? But we want to understand that. So that's what we're going to do today. This is how everyone should be rolling. And we'll just work at the forward roll. Again, we have a member board with the ranking, and you could plot for who rolls this way and who does not roll this way. Those who roll this way are at the higher rank, and those who do not roll this way are at the lower rank. That is the way it works out, because rank here is dependent upon who can take Ukemi and who cannot take Ukemi, because you can only receive what you can receive. So transmission is entirely dependent upon your ability to receive, and so skill is dependent upon transmission, hence rank, as we understand it here, okay? So this gives us an opportunity for our people to go back over on how to roll, and this gives you an opportunity, a very important one, that if you're going to take our throwing architectures, which will make more sense to you as you understand our force engine mechanics, you have to retrain your people on how to roll, because they're currently not rolling in a way that is safe for what we are doing. And more importantly, this is how Uke experiences the purification ritual that comes from this ritual of eternal return, where you have yin and yang, you undo yin and yang, and then you end up back with yin and yang. Okay? All right. Okay, here we have his, we'll just call it yang in this case, and then we have the center, and then we have the yin, his feet. And this gives an order. This is an order, a concentric order of the whole manifestation of the universe. And what we want to do is undo this order, okay? And he's going to experience that through his body-mind. He's going to feel the order of his body, and then of his body-mind, and then he's going to feel the disorder of it, okay? So he experiences this ritual of eternal return from that point of view, okay? And this is why true Ukemi, as I just defined it, is terrifying, because he has to undo himself. It's a kind of little death. There's the kind of death that happens for uke every single time they're thrown this way. And that's the ritual. You see, it's a ritual of freedom from self. So this is the kind of death that happens. Okay? And at the physical level, it happens because this order is going to reach that destabilization state where these three things go in different directions. Okay? So what we're going to end up doing, now to kind of demonstrate this, is we would be on that spiral shape, any portion of it, okay? And we're just working with the forward ukemi. The head is moving along and with the inward force, the centripetal force, okay, on that spiral shape. The leg is moving outwardly this way, okay? So there is this kind of spin here that's happening on his body. And if we just look at his body, the way it is, eventually that rotation is going to take his line of gravity outside the base of support of that foot. But what the technique does also differently is it's going to take the line of gravity and cut it. Usually we have this angle, the center of gravity, usually this angle or this angle, okay, is what you end up doing. So his center of gravity is going to go that way on a line. His foot is on a curve going that way, and his head is on a curve going this way. Okay, so you're just going to push his foot on the curve when I say go. Go. That's what we're doing. Okay? You increase the momentum, you increase the inertia, and it's impossible for someone to stand. Okay? That's what we're doing there. What we have to do differently in the end is he will be dismantled in his posture, but he will refine his posture, and in particular, he's going to find it on this arm for the forward roll. But different from the normal roll is this hand touches the mat on the other side of the circle of the forward roll. Okay, so I'll demonstrate that. So if you have a forward roll, a lot of people will touch the mat on the positive side of the forward roll, and it looks something like this. What we have to do is touch the mat on the negative side of the forward roll. I'm on the other side of the circle. That is when I start to restructure the relationship between my head, my center, and my feet. Okay? So if you watch my weekend that I'm legitimately throwing, they kind of have to let these things pull apart, and they'll find that arm on the negative side of the circle, take it back into that yin and yang relationship through the center. So we have to roll a certain way to be able to find the arm on the negative side of the circle. Okay? So here's drill one. In drill one, we're going to organize the body, and we start out with this right angle with our legs. Your lead leg is pointed exactly straight. This is incorrect, this kind of tilt that you have there. Straight. This leg, no, 90 degrees. You want these strict XY axis going, okay? And on drill one, I start to get used to building the relationship between the head, the center, and the feet, okay? My hand comes down. Usually your heel palm is straight underneath your shoulder or near thereabouts. I don't know where you have to move to show that camera. And your knee is in alignment with your heel palm. But what's important is that this is a natural position for your hand. Because the only thing this hand is doing is creating a kind of training balance, like training wheels. So we don't want it out here, we don't want it out here, we don't want it out here. It's just so you can have some sort of guide rail, stair rail, where you can now balance on this leg, okay? And here you start to develop that relationship between your head and feet, which means every time your foot moves, your head goes down. Head moves, foot goes down. So foot up, head up, foot down. What you don't want is this. This is incorrect. This has no center to it because the extremities are acting independently. So drill 1, just hang out here. Back down. Okay, we'll try drill 1. Some common mistakes at this point already is to use the support hand as if it's going to be there in the technique. It will not be there in the technique. Okay? Relatedly is a will for control. That's why they want to use that hand. Okay? They're not going to find that control. And relatedly to this will for control is that they're going to try to touch the ground on the positive side of the circle, but they won't be there. At that point on the positive side of the circle, which is the throwing part of the circle, they are disassembled. This is why my lesser skilled ukis can't take this, is they're trying to look for the contact with the mat on the positive side of the circle, which means they're trying to not be disassembled, okay? Why? Because of the fear attachment that comes to the self being disassembled, okay? So sometimes that's going to make someone put this hand over here. If they want a wider base so they can balance more. And this is all part of that. I want control here. You don't. You're not trying to touch anything, in fact. Okay, just that you're trying to work on this relationship, trying to balance here, okay? So careful that you're trying to widen your base because that's the positive side of the circle. Relatedly, let's say you do put your hand here, but you put this shoulder down. So you're actually using it, this shoulder's down. When I'm doing it, you can see that shoulder goes up. So I'm not here like this shoulder is up. I'm more sideways as I'm doing this, more sideways. So you can be light, and your balance is more on your leg and your foot, but really in your center, working very much like warrior pose in yoga, as opposed to getting ready to do my forward roll, shoulder down, widen my base, touch the mat on the positive side of the circle. Okay, so get their shoulders up. Try it. Drill 2. Is I'm going to lower that shoulder all the way down, all the way down. It is fine if you start to fall, okay? You do want to fall eventually. So, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift the foot up until that shoulder, I'm lifting the foot up. I'm not lowering the shoulder and breaking the connection with my foot. I lift the foot up, Then the foot goes down and I come back up, okay? So, again, you're here, don't start to lower the shoulder. You get this arc right here, or this angle here. No, lift the foot up, lift the foot up, lift the foot up, lift the foot up, shoulders down, okay? To this, leave your hand flat on the mat. Don't turn this hand like this, especially palm up, because this is where we're going to hit the mat. So some palm off the mat is fine. No, no, no. Okay? So I'm here like this. try it. Okay, some details that you want to be able to see on this drill is, of course, no head on the mat. You don't want to have your head on the mat. But two is you're going to have to emphasize the opening of that rear shoulder and not keep it down. And as a result, you're going to end up looking around that balance guide rail arm. So my head doesn't look through here. I'm going to end up looking around that arm. So I'm looking around that arm. Looking around the arm. Okay? Because my feet and my head and my center are going different directions, what we are accomplishing already at this point is that my head shoulder area is no longer in the same plane as my hips, and that is very important. Okay, so as I'm doing drill 2, and if I do a normal federite forward roll when I'm here like this, do this kind of stuff, there's the positive aspect of the circle where I'm putting weight and I have weight here. My hips are following my shoulders. Even if I have a slight diagonal, they're basically in the same plane. They're going to go over the top. Okay, that's not possible in our throwing architecture. So drill 3, as I start to move around, my head comes around, you can see that my shoulders aren't in the same plane as my hips. They're starting to go around this way. And you should already see that in drill 2. I'm going this way. I'm not going this way. Drill 3. Once I'm going to complete drill 2, and then I'm going to push with the ball of my front foot. I push on the ball of the front foot. This way, drill 2, push over. Drill 2, push over. You're going to start to notice something. Here I am on that line. My hips will not go that way or even stay on this line. They're going to go that way. Knee on the line, foot on the line, my hips will go that way. Not here, not here. My shoulders will go this way, my hips go that way. Okay? Let's try that. Drill 3. Okay, so your hips are on the line. Go back to the other side. Switch same side. Scoot back. Your hips, put your knee on that line, please. Your hips are going to go far to the right of the line. Your shoulders are going to come far to the left of the line. What we're trying to do is get them out of the same plane. Okay? So point to where your hips are going to go. More. There you go. Okay? Tight. Where are your shoulders going to go? Okay. Lower to do drill 2. Lower. And now push and go. Better. Again. There you go. All right. Here's where this right angle is more important, is when we're upside down. I don't want my knees to come towards each other. So as I'm rolling, and my hips are going this way, my shoulders are going this way, I don't want my knees to come together because now I'm sideways, okay? And you kind of get up all weird. So keep your knees open and apart. And I'll give you a metric to learn this part of don't turn sideways. That's what we're learning, okay? Because eventually this will have to go away. Just like this guardrail will have to go away too, okay? Is the bottom of my foot, of my forward leg, should be as if I'm stepping flat on the ceiling. If your knees come together, your foot is over that way, which eventually we want our foot that way, but not right now, okay? So as I roll my foot, my left foot is gonna stay towards the ceiling where I could plant it flat on the mat, continue forward, and you have the same L shape. It shouldn't be here at this point, okay? So in this drill 4, we look for that on the ceiling of the front foot, and then we complete it being ready to do it again, okay? Try it. There's a lot of false problems right now, and this is the dangerous part, or the inefficient part of teaching this. One, for example, is that we have that guardrail, but and you're going to put weight on it. That's a false problem because you're not going to have that arm in the throat. The other problem is this closing of the knees, like kind of thing. That's a false problem too. You won't be able to close your knees. That will only affect how well you are at coming back together at the end. Okay. So basically, you crash. It's a false problem. Okay? Also, the positive side of the circle. Your beginner is going to want to do that. No matter how much you tell them, they are balancing with the two hands as opposed to with the head, center, foot relationship, okay? And so they kind of put pressure on that arm, or they put pressure on the shoulder. They use the shoulder as the positive side of the circle to replace the arm, but that is also a false problem, okay? So you have to make sure that you're doing drill 2. Drill 2 is lower the shoulder. Lower the shoulder, okay? It might seem like to some people that, well, I'd rather put weight on the arm so I could roll over that and not the shoulder, and this is what I mean by it's a false problem. You're not going to have your shoulder. Your shoulder is going to be underneath when we throw you, which is why you can only touch the mat on the negative side of the circle. You have no chance of crashing on your shoulder when we throw you, okay? It's just a matter of how you will land is the question. You're going through the air, and it's not on your shoulder, okay? Usually you end up flat on your back, and you get whiplash, and your head hits the mat, okay? So make sure that you're going to lower that shoulder and not crash on that shoulder. That's positive side of the circle mentality. What we really want out of this is what I said. The shoulders and the hips are in entirely different planes because they are going to be in different planes. They're going to disorganize me, okay? And a telltale sign that you're doing it is your head is looking around your arm, your shoulder on the guardrail is up, and your back is straight. If your shoulders and hips are in the same plane, you got to kind of tuck to pass the bottom apex because you made a bottom apex. So we want to really emphasize this back straight here that I have in drill 1 and drill 2. So as I come around, you'll be able to keep your back straight as that leg is swinging around and taking your hips that way. Make sure you're not tucking. Your back is straight as you go. Okay? So let's try it. Make sure your back's straight. Let's go. Okay, so because my main goal is to keep the hips and the shoulders in different planes, different vertical planes. I don't want my hips ever moving towards the plane my shoulders are in, which means I don't want my knees moving towards my face. Okay, so pay attention. I'm just gonna let you go, you do you. Better. They went towards your face. And as a result, you can see that her hips stay on that line, even though at the end you kind of move to your left, okay? Let your hips go way to your left, okay? Don't let your knees come towards your face. Better. One more. Okay, and you're really using that front shoulder as a balancing thing. You gotta, you go over it, you push over it, you fall over it, okay? All right, continue to go. This is looking good. Well, I'll just film you going the other way. We'll get your hips going the other way. Okay, you can go again. Look at his shoulders, look at his hips, look at his back straight, all these things. Look how the knees don't come towards the face. He lifts around the arm, okay? Okay? In drill 5, what we're going to do is take away any support that someone might have been having here, okay? On the positive side of the circle. Any positive side of the circle mentality, we're going to take it away by going one-handed, okay? Now, people who were doing it correctly will actually find this easier to do because there's no impetus to have the rear shoulder down because you don't have to touch the mat, okay? You get to actually put it up more. And the more the rear shoulder is up, the easier it is to move the shoulders and the head out of the same vertical plane with the hips, which is what we want because that's what's going to happen to us, okay? It's just an easier drill for them. For the person that was still with the positive side of the circle mentality, which again is a will to power, which is a fear response, you're trying to gain some control, which will never be there for you in the throw, which will have you crash and land improperly. Then you can't take Ukemi, then the art can't be transmitted to you, and you are where you are, okay? what they will find is this is scarier, okay, because you won't have that. So it looks something like this. Everything's exactly the same. You're just rolling, it's lower. And you can see that I'm moving more north as I go because my hips keep going to the outside of each line. You should be doing that. Anyone who's rolling straight east-west the entire time wasn't doing this correctly. Okay? All right, let's try that, buddy. All right, here's a drill 5.1. Okay? Because at this point, you can stick in the arm finding and using the negative side of the circle. So he's going to do drill 5, but not put that shoulder down. Okay? And he'll hit the mat on the negative side of the circle with his lead arm. And it looks something like this. Okay, try it.